Welcome to the Full Nelson. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Accu-tac SR-5 Bipod. There's some things I really love about this bipod, and there is one thing I absolutely hate about it. So today I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about it. All the videos I've seen of this seem to be nothing but pure praise, saying it's the best bipod ever and all that kind of stuff. I use Harris bipods quite a bit. I don't own an Atlas. I may pick up an Atlas to go on my Christensen arms because it's a little lighter than this. But anyway, so the things I like about this, the leg adjustments are excellent, like super easy to use. It's just spring loaded. There's little stops in here, stop screws, so you can't pull it out beyond that. And then it's got a little spring loaded piece here. You just press that in and the legs retract. It's pretty sweet. I have, however, I noticed, managed to lose one of these little screws that keeps this from coming out too far. So I could probably pull this leg all the way out. I've reached out to Accu-tac to see if they'll send me a replacement screw. I don't know if a screw is necessarily the best option for that particular location or what. I guess maybe they want it to be able to be disassembled, but I really don't like the idea of things like that falling out of or off of my bipod. This bipod is really robust, but it also seems to have a lot of parts, a lot of screws, a lot of springs, stuff like that, that on some of the other bipod designs, whether it's Atlas or Harris, in my opinion, they seem like a simpler design. Simpler is generally better in terms of not losing things or not having things get busted or whatever. Now, this adjusts similar to an Atlas in terms of you can put the legs in all different kinds of positions. You don't just have to have them straight forward. You can put them at like a 45-degree angle, forward or backward, which is neat. I do like that better than Harris. The other thing I like that over time irritates me a bit with the Harris is when you go to preload your bipod, not to preload your bipod, sorry. If you go get down behind your rifle and then you go to drag the rifle back several inches to you and then push into it to preload the legs, when you go to drag that rifle back, a lot of the time the legs have a tendency to want to fold up if you're using a heavier rifle, which is really annoying. This does not have that issue. This thing is super solid. You go to drag it back into you and it doesn't budge. Like, it is super solid. I know some people like, and I haven't done enough experimenting with it to definitively say, but I know some people prefer something like Atlas bipod, that the legs have a little bit of flex. So when you preload it, the legs are actually flexing a little bit forward. So when you fire, they're kind of, the rifle is just kind of it gives the rifle the ability to move without the bipod moving. Whereas with this, there is no flex at all, so when you shoot, if the rifle moves, unless it moves, rocks, if it actually, like, if you're holding it level, like riding on a sandbag and it's riding straight, there is no flex in the legs on this bipod at all. Some people really love that, some people really don't. It's just something I thought I would mention. Now, so things I like the adjustability. I like that it seems super solid for certain types of rifles and stuff. That seems to be great. I don't have any issues with it being solid and the legs not flexing or whatever the way an Atlas does. That doesn't bother me at all. So overall I like it. Price-wise, it's a little bit less expensive than an Atlas with a QD mount, but it's not as... it's a little bit less expensive than an Atlas, but quite a bit more than a Harris. Okay, yeah. So the biggest thing I hate about this bipod that really drives me crazy, and I just can't wrap my head around who came up with this design decision, but it bothers me so bad, and so few YouTubers that I've seen or people reviewing this have mentioned this. I will probably fix this myself if they don't come up with a design that does fix this, just because it is driving me absolutely insane, and that is the feet. So these feet can be changed, but as you can see, they're just this. Let me get this a little closer. So the feet are just this little itty bitty threaded piece here, and yeah. Which that's not what bothers me. What bothers me is that these come loose all the time. All the time. In fact, if I weren't constantly tightening them, I'm quite certain I would have lost them both by now. So the bipod feet just irritate me to no end. It's not the rubber, it's not any of that, it's the way they attach, that they just simply thread in this chintzy way. Here you've got this really robust, solid bipod, and then you've got these little chintzy screw-on feet that no matter how tight you seem to tighten them, they seem to loosen anyway. So what I would suggest they do is that they drill and tap a hole in here with a retention screw that you tighten down that locks up against these feet so that they can't come unthreaded. You could even bore a hole clean through this if the screws weren't so tiny, if you used a little bit bigger. So same size rubber piece, but you used a little bit bigger bolt sticking out that's embedded into those feet. You could actually bore a hole clean through it and put like a locking key in there. It needs something like that. It just absolutely drives me crazy, these feet falling off. If you look at the way Atlas and Harris deal with this, they clearly have thought about this. Accu-tac's pretty new to the market, so maybe this is something they didn't really think about or isn't that big of a deal to them. But with a Harris or an Atlas, I believe Atlas is detent, like, so when it snaps on or pops on, like, they can't unthread. They don't thread on or off. And Harris, I believe, is either a roll pin or a detent or something of some type too, and they are never going to come off of there, like on accident. They're never going to loosen or fall off on accident. In my opinion, that's a pretty big oversight when it comes to a bipod, and it irritates me pretty bad, like when I'm out there using it and then all of a sudden I realize like one of the feet is this close to falling off anyway. Yeah. So, other than the feet, this is an excellent bipod. It's better than the Harris leg notch bipod I've been using for quite a few years in most every way. It is heavier. That is one area it's not as good. And that's one area where I think Atlas is really the king of bipods right now. If you're going to be using it for like a hunting application and you need it to be lightweight, the Atlas is probably the best. If you need the most solid bipod that things aren't going to move, the stance is super wide, stuff like that, this thing is rock solid. If it weren't for the feet, like, this is easily the best bipod for a heavier rifle or something you just want to be rock solid. It's the best bipod I've ever used. So there you go. That's my conclusion on this Accu-tac SR-5 bipod. Overall, I think it's great with one big oversight, which is the feet. Yeah. And then, of course, like I said, there's tons of little parts on it that could potentially come loose and fall off. I don't see this section doing that because it's not moving at all. But this section here, with this spring-loaded stop with the screw that's in it, that's going to face some friction, whether it's on the sides of this or when it bottoms out. And if it's not bumping up against that just right, it may be that just that friction is causing that to loosen and fall out. That certainly seems to be what has happened here. I just barely noticed this, that when I got this out just the other day with some of my rifles, that had fallen out. So, yeah. With that, they should probably be Loctite that or something, because that's not something you want to come out, other than if you were to fill this thing so full of dirt or grit or something that it stopped working. And the tolerances seem tight enough, I don't really see that happening, so I think they should be Loctite those screws in. Anyway, that's my review on the Accu-tac SR-5 bipod. I think it's excellent. If I had to rate it between the Harris, this, and the Atlas, if you need lightweight, go with the Atlas. If you need the most solid, least amount of movement, go with this. And if you're on a budget, there's nothing wrong with the Harris. The Harris is super fast into action, and it's built in a way you're never going to lose any parts or pieces or anything like that off of it. The Atlas is, for that matter, as well. So, you know, take your pick. It really depends on the application. At least that's the way I see it. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments or questions, leave those in the comment section. Have a nice day.